folks. This is N7GES. I'll be back here in about a minute to start TechNet. It got the time got away from me. I'll be right there. Good evening. This is N7GES, and this is the NCARC TechNet. Starting just a minute or so late. Sorry about that. We meet on this repeater each Monday evening to discuss technical, mostly technical, but amateur radio issues. It's a learning place and a place to ask questions and find out answers to things that you might not have learned before, or things you need to brush up on, or whatnot. We do have a topic that I'll get to in just a few minutes. We're available both on the on this machine, which could be either the 447-275, the 447-750, or Echolink at W0UPS-R, or on our YouTube channel where we're being video streamed or live streamed at this time. Questions are always welcome, both during the net and between nets via email. The easiest email for TechNet questions is elmers@ncarc.net. That's Echo Lima. Why do I have so much trouble doing this? I can't spell the word in my head either. That's part of the problem. Echo Lima Mike Echo Romeo Sierra at NCARC.net. That's as in Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. Okay, haha on me. Who have we got waiting to check in this evening? N7GES.
This is November 0, November Yankee with November 0, Quebec, X-Ray Quebec, Bart and Jean in Evans, Colorado. Good evening, Kevin. Good to hear you.
KE0OXB. Scott in Fort Collins. Good evening, Bart. Good evening to the net. And Kevin, it's nice to hear you back in there.
Okay.
George, Kilo Bravo 0 Sierra Charlie X-ray in Berthoud.
Okay. Welcome, George. KB0SCX, KE0OXV, N0QXQ, and N0NYY. Welcome and thank you for being here. Who else would like to check in this evening?
Kilo Alpha 6, Echo Tango Echo, Jim in Loveland.
Kilo Echo 0 Sierra Oscar Romeo Mike in Wellington.
KC0YGA Kelsey in Fort Collins.
Kilo Delta 0, Yankee Oscar Papa, Scott in Fort Collins.
KC0SUN, Alec in Fort Collins.
Okay.
Whiskey 2, Mike, India, Charlie, Mark in Loveland.
November 0 Alpha India Alpha Chuck, Fort Collins.
Okay. Let's recognize N0AIA. A long time no hear, Chuck. Good to hear you. W2MIC, KC0SUN, KD0YOP, KC0YGA, KE0SOR, and KA6ETE. Thank you very much, folks. Anybody else, please?
Kilo Delta 0 Whiskey Bravo Charlie Pete, Fort Collins.
Good evening, Pete, and good to hear you, KD0WBC. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, check-ins can happen at any point, and they're just taken to see who is here. So feel free to check in later in the net if you've just been listening as well. Tonight, our topic is Echolink and IRLP. What are the different types of stations? How are they different? How do you connect to them? What are they useful for? So that's some very, very broad topic at this point in time, and I'm guessing that after we give some basic information, we're going to probably be ready to generate some questions. So maybe I will start by just interjecting some basics. Both of these are internet protocols, I guess you'd say. Ways to connect from one repeater to another or connect into a repeater via the internet. The differences are that Echolink can be done either directly through the internet or from one repeater to another. IRLP, on the other hand, I believe can only be done from one radio or repeater to another through the airwaves into the IRLP node. So there are probably other differences as well that others may be able to comment on as we go along through here. But why would we need these? What is the advantage to having a way of connecting to a distant repeater? Obviously, I can say from my past couple of years of experience that it's been extremely nice to be able to call home and talk to my friends here in town when I'm away in Casper, Wyoming in the summer for the week. So that's certainly one advantage to it for sure. Probably any number of others can come to mind as we discuss this further. Anybody else want to make any clarifications, distinctions, or comments about those modes before we start entertaining questions?
SUN.
SUN, go.
I just wanted to say that this is me talking to the 447275 via Echolink.
Okay, since you're doing that, you want to go ahead and discuss how you did it, what you did?
Sure, that's fine. I downloaded the Echolink app on my phone. I mean, I have radios here, but I figured why not use Echolink since that's what we're talking about. I downloaded the app on my phone. I went through a short kind of login process. It's a bit of a minimal verification process to make sure that you're a ham. And once you do that, you search for there's a map. You can search for local repeaters. And anyone that's Echolink capable that's in the database, you can just connect to that repeater, and then it will immediately start listening for any transmission that the repeater is sending out. And there is a button, and you click transmit, and you can start talking. And once you're done transmitting, you click well, it's actually a big microphone on the screen, but you click it again, and you stop transmitting.
Okay. There we've had a practical demonstration, and some of you have heard this before on this repeater as well. Some of you may have heard it without realizing that it wasn't just the linked repeater that somebody else was talking through, because the courtesy beep is, I think, pretty much identical, if not completely identical. But there is a different courtesy tone when somebody talks through either Echolink or the other linked repeater, whichever one that is, from the one that you're listening to. So but still, as you can see, the sound is still good. It still comes through well with a good internet connection. There's usually no problems with it. Any other comments anybody wants to make about these modes before we start entertaining questions? I kind of want to make sure we get as much description and stuff out there before we start entertaining questions here, although that will certainly help us carry the subject on further as well. But any comments first?
NYY.
NYY, go.
Thank you. Something you said early on about IRLP's requirements and Echolink's requirements, I may have heard you wrong, but that sounded like it was backwards, because with Echolink, you don't need another repeater, like just this repeater, and as Alec did with his iPhone. Or you can do that with a computer, or you can do that with, whatever device you want to. where I thought IRLP actually requires two repeaters that get linked together. I reserve the right to be wrong. I know almost nothing about IRLP. My other comment would be about the courtesy beep on Echolink on my iPhone. I will not speak to any other apps because I don't have them. On my iPhone, I don't hear any courtesy beep at all. And I believe on most repeaters, if you don't let the repeater carrier drop, not just the courtesy tone, but the carrier, I demonstrate. That little static at the end meant the repeater dropped. If you are on Echolink, you cannot get in until the repeater drops. My phone has a red thing on the microphone that tells me I can't get in because the repeater hasn't dropped. And one of the big reasons I make that point is I used to use Echolink on here all the time. Other people love to, but if you don't leave them a break after the carrier drops, they can't get in. And zeroing my way back to net.
Okay. We take those a couple at a time there. Several in there. In fact, I'm still writing. Okay. So, yes, I think what I tried to say was, with Echolink, you can get in with an iPhone or a computer directly from the internet to a repeater or a radio. And with IRLP, you must go in through a radio to another radio device. Okay. I did not say repeater because you can buy devices which are Echolink or IRLP nodes and connect them to anything you want. So they're going to be most practically connected to a repeater, but they could be connected to a simplex, a radio that's on a simplex channel as well. But the main differentiation I was trying to make was that you must go in for IRLP. You must go in via the radio to get to other places. With Echolink, you can go in most usually through the internet to other places, but there are Echolink setups where you can dial in through the radio as well. So that is one of the differentiations we can talk about a bit more later. I hope I said that all straight that time. That was my intent anyway. So that's your first part of your question. Second one here. Oh, Echolink, no courtesy tone. Yes, there's a very, very, very slight dip on Echolink that most people don't hear, and that also might have to do with the app you use, the iPhone app versus the Android app versus the computer PC program or Apple program. I don't know that that's uniform across platforms, and it's so subtle you almost don't hear it. That beep is what lets you know that, yes, you can now transmit. That does not necessarily have to do with the repeater dropping its output, but it does have to do with a delay of time without a signal coming through. And so he's right. If you're chattering back and forth rapidly and don't leave space in between, and on this machine it's about the amount of time that it takes for the repeater to drop, maybe slightly less, but that's your safety margin, is hearing the repeater drop. Then you know that you've left enough room for an Echolink station to get in, because there is a hang time that you have to respond to that they have no control over, because the transmit button just simply does not become enabled until after a certain amount of time. Okay, I think that takes care of those things. Do we have questions at this point?
Just a comment.
Go ahead, SUN.
So the comment is that just as a minor clarification, all of that you said sounded correct to me. The clarification is the reason for the pause, and it is approximately the amount of time it takes for the repeater to drop. But it is actually the delay. If you have Echolink open on an app and you're listening to to any radio, the radio, you can have 4 radios and they'll all sound almost perfectly in sync. Not 100%, but most of the time they're almost perfectly in sync. Your app is going to be a little bit behind, and that little bit happens to be the amount of time that it takes the repeater to drop. That delay has to do with the encoding and decoding of the audio into sound instead of just radio waves. So that is why there's that delay, and that is why you should let the repeater drop to let people get in. KC02N.
Okay. Now we're dealing with fairly technical matters, but it's good to have the explanation. You will notice if you talk on Echolink and listen to yourself on the radio that there's a delay. Of course, you'll notice that on from one radio to another through this repeater too, but it's even more of a delay through Echolink, and that's the delay that he's talking about there. So anyhow, do remember when you're talking with somebody that is listening and joining you through Echolink to leave space between so that they have a chance to drop in. Otherwise, the conversation just keeps going and their push-to-talk button never becomes enabled. Questions at this point? This is N7GES and the TechNet.
KE0CBT with a question.
That's Charlie Bravo Tango.
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, I'm on the 447750 repeater in North Boulder, and a couple of years ago, I knew of a repeater that I could connect into, and I could get it to dial up through IRLP and connect to the Western Reflector, which is IRLP node 9250. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that again. Seems like that repeater has gone away, but maybe since it's a TechNet, somebody has an answer. It's KE0CBT.
Okay. We don't have as much experience with IRLP in this area because we don't have any repeaters locally, at least in our club that run it. However, there are certainly machines around that do. Does anybody have any information about that?
The 9250 reflector is, you can dial it up on Echolink, so it supports Echolink as well.
Okay, was that you, CBT?
Yes, that's correct. But I just don't know how to make it do it.
Okay. Well, we're talking, it looks like, again, we have a couple of different issues in play here. First of all, if it's an IRLP node that you're trying to get to specifically, then you obviously need a repeater that's IRLP equipped, which, of course, these in the NCARC currently are not. I do believe there are other machines that are. And there have been, maybe still are, a simplex channel or two out there that are connected with IRLP that you may be able to connect into. However, I do not know about those at this point in time. If it is on Echolink, and if the node number is the same, on some repeaters, theoretically this one is supposed to work this way, but I don't believe it is working at this time. But generally, in some form or another, you dial the node number, 9230, or perhaps in this case, and perhaps a pound sign, and the Echolink repeater with Echolink capability can dial into the Echolink system and connect to that other Echolink node. Now, on some repeaters, they're liable to want you to dial some sort of a code in first to tell it that you're dialing Echolink. In this repeater situation, there's some extra digits you have to put in front of it. But again, I don't know that it's actually working at this point in time. But there is an explanation of it on our webpage as to how you dial in to an Echolink node from this repeater. If we ever are given the info that it's been put back right again, or if James happens to be on here and can fill us in on that detail, then we'll know. So I don't know that I've answered your question or not. Do you have? Do you want to ask further, or have I helped at all?
No, you have helped. In fact, now that I recall, I used to key up and then dial 9250 and then pound, and the repeater would connect to the Western reflector. Now, it may not have been using IRLP, but that's the I can get to the Western reflector on the Echolink app, and I'm going to do that right now and see if maybe we could run a little small test to see if it works. Back to you.
SUN with a suggestion.
Okay, SUN.
If you're looking to dial IRLP onto the Western reflector, it's probably going to be best to connect to it via Echolink and listen and figure out who there might know. There are a couple, I think there's one repeater in this area, and I don't know which one it was, that allows you to dial IRLP as well. That's linked. But like you said, this area, there's not a lot of use for it. We have Echolink-enabled repeaters. We have a really good repeater network, so we don't use it as much. But somebody on the Western reflector may actually have that information. KC0SUN back to net.
NYY.
And why?
Someone was looking for IRLP information the other day on this repeater, and I did a quick search to find IRLPs in the area. The 750 machine on Lee Hill that we are linked to has an IRLP node associated with it. I do not know what that means, but I've seen that information a couple of times. So maybe it is or was. I do not know. Back to net.
Okay. There you go. I do not know if that node is still activated at this point in time, especially since they've linked it into here. but that's something that you could certainly try. I wouldn't advise trying it during the net here, because if the reflector is busy, then we're infringing on them, and then they're infringing on us in that way. So you could certainly try that, or you can check with the RM Ham people are the ones that have made the 750 machine available to us. So their web page would probably have the most up-to-date information as to what situation the 750 is in, as far as if it's still IRLP enabled and that sort of thing. That's my guess anyhow. But it's possible that you did use that machine in the past and click in via IRLP. As far as whether you're using IRLP or Echolink, that could be a little tricky, and there may be somebody that can give us an explanation. If you know you're dialing a node number and connecting, is there a difference in the way the two systems work, or do they work that similarly that you might not know? Obviously, what you would have to know is what node numbers to get and that sort of thing. So let's see. Before we get too complicated, let's not get too far off the beaten path just yet, and see whether we have other basic questions that maybe we haven't yet answered, and then we can get into more specifics about each of the modes and how they may be different, and what one might do that the other won't, or vice versa. Okay, we may have either gone over people's heads already or not gone far enough. I'm not sure which. Have any of you used Echolink and it's brought questions to your mind as to part of its operation? Anybody have questions on when you've actually used it, what you've been able to do, what has worked, what hasn't worked, how you might need to do something?
AIA.
AIA, go ahead.
Kevin, I've had problems. I've never have gotten validated with Echolink. I tried as far back as 17. I've used both my official email address as in the FCC database plus the reflector at ARRL, and I never get the validation. And I've checked all my spam filters and everything else, and it just never comes through. Does anybody else have that issue?
Anybody else had trouble getting their validation done? I have not. I don't know that I've heard of anybody else that's had an issue with it. Anybody else had any difficulty getting that accomplished? I don't know whether we have a small group of Echolink users that's small enough that we don't have a lot of info tonight, or just nobody's having an issue. You do know that there's a couple of ways to do it, both with a written license and with a... how does that other mode work that's all electronic, where you don't actually have to send an emailed copy of your license? There's a couple of different ways to do it, and I know that I can't even now remember which way I did it, and it just worked. I had the thing back immediately. But have you tried both manners of doing that?
No, negative. That's a good suggestion. I'll try something else, or maybe I can mail in a copy or something. But there was a couple times when we were traveling, like you said, where I was hoping to use it and never did get validation. And so I'll try one of those others, because there must be something different in my situation. But thanks for the help anyway. N0AIA back to net.
NYY.
Why?
When I first wanted to use Echolink, I tried to go through the free FCC website to get the code number for my call sign, and the FCC said you have to upload this certain file that's a legal document of your license, and I tried 16 ways from Sunday to get that legal document to me so I could upload it back to them, and that never succeeded. Finally, I went to another website which said, by the way, you can verify for $1 against your credit card. I put in my credit card number. They took my $1 and gave me my number in about 20 seconds. So that worked well for me. I don't remember the name of that site, but I could find it again if need be. N0NYY back to net.
And I believe on the Echolink site you will find those options. I think they discuss both of those registration options there and give you that. And I believe that's what I did as well, actually. I don't remember now, but it's been a while. Anyhow, it's another way of them verifying that you're a ham by looking up some information. You're just having somebody else do the looking, essentially, by going that route. So, yeah, check that out, and if you have any difficulties, certainly get a hold of some of us and see if we can help you out further with that. But I don't believe I've heard very many people say they've had trouble getting their verification back. There have been a few people that have had trouble getting connected over the years, and there's another whole set of things that might play into that, which usually just has to do with your personal internet connection and things that you may need to make some changes on, but that would not affect your actually receiving the registration. N7GES, we're talking Echolink and IRLP. We may not have as much info about IRLP as there are a few of us around that are using it, but certainly Echolink is a part of this machine and a part of at least a couple other machines in the area that several of us have used. So we're just trying to provide a place for people to ask questions and get information on how those work, what you can do with them, and if there are problems, what can a person do to overcome that. Any other questions about that tonight?
SUN.
SUN?
Two quick pieces of information. One quick piece of information, doesn't really matter. In case people want more information about either one of these, IRLP.net and Echolink.org are the websites that have all of the information, and one is uglier than the other, and you can pick out which one's the ugliest. But they're very just text-based, very informational sites. If you're trying to figure out what to do, everything's right there in the menus. That's where all the information is. Have we actually mentioned exactly what the process of audio going into my my radio out to the repeater over to the internet and then out to the Echolink, exactly how that works? Because that would be I don't know if a lot of people may not know exactly what's going on with IRLP and Echolink.
DEG.
We have not talked about that yet. Let's stand by for just a moment, if you would. DEG?
I missed the check-ins, but I'm sure you can write me down there. I've used the Echolink many a times, especially when I was stuck in Georgia. I have a friend of mine that is in Thaxton, Virginia, and he has an Echolink repeater that he has in the past linked to this repeater during the TechNets. At the present time, he's not doing that, but I just tried to holler at him over on his repeater to see if I could get him to come over and give us a little bit more education on it. I figure that he might have more information to give us than we are being provided with at this present time, maybe. But I was not lucky in getting him. but it has served me very well. I enjoyed it, and as far as getting signed into Echolink, I didn't have any issues. K1DEG.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the info there. Before we go into any other technical deals, let me just mention for anyone who may be listening who hasn't used it but is interested, and certainly we know we're talking to folks, not all who are either taking the time to check in or are able to check in, so I'll just go ahead and give some info. When you connect in through your phone or computer, you may or may not be announced on the repeater that you have connected in. A lot of them do announce somebody is connected, and some of them do not. Ours does not. So the reason to know that is if you connect into a repeater and suddenly somebody calls you, you'll understand why. Even if you haven't given your call, the Echolink system may have announced you on the repeater. So that is a possibility. And the other thing, of course, which is generally is the same as radio, when you connect into a channel, always listen first to see if there's a conversation already in progress, just like you would if you were using a radio, because prior to your connecting in, there's no way to know that you're what you're getting into. You do still need to use your call sign, because even though you're not transmitting directly on a radio yourself, you are making a transmission on a radio somewhere. You're making an actual RF radio transmission, so you do need to use your call sign as you normally would when you use a radio, and that means signing off and IDing every 10 minutes. If you drop out of a connection, if you've been a part of the conversation, you may definitely want to certainly sign out, because the system again may or may not announce that you've dropped your connection. And so in order to be properly legal, you certainly want to identify yourself before you drop out of a connection as well, if you've been talking recently enough that you have not ID'd. Any other comments?
DEG.
AE7HF checking in, mobile.
Okay, is that Alpha Echo 7 Hotel Fox?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right time to check in. I don't know how long I'm going to have this repeater. I'm on I-76, traveling to Las Vegas from South Dakota. Was scanning through the band and picked it up. Alpha Echo 7 Hotel Foxtrot. Name's Colin. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Colin, and glad to have you. No, this is fine. We're pretty free form here. Glad you checked in. Any questions while you've got the microphone or comments?
No, I'm just listening here. I put a FTM 400 in the truck here I bought in July at AES in Denver. I mean, a ham radio outlet in Denver, and just don't hear much activity on it. And always glad I can actually use it when I hear something. So anyway, nothing major. Just headed back to Vegas to go jump on in my semi truck and go trucking for a while. AE7HF. Thanks again.
You're very welcome, Colin, and please feel free to enjoy the repeater anytime you're in the area. This is N7GES with the TechNet. K1DEG, go ahead.
I was just basically going to key up and confirm what you're saying about that sometimes, depending on the setup of the IRLP, or Echolink, excuse me, sorry, wrong one. depending on the setup of the Echolink, I do know that some announce you, some don't. Some announce the repeater. My friend's K4LYL's repeater, it will announce its repeater, its call sign, frequency, information to you when you link into his repeater over the phone. Also, at one time, I don't know if it's still doing it or not because I've never heard it. At one time, every time I would get into his repeater, the way I understand it from Larry, which is K4LYL, it would announce that I was on the repeater. It would give my call sign and everything else for me, so other people would know I was there. I guess it's just, different setups, different choices, but that's the way he has his, and I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, obviously there's advantages to both ways, and so, there are options when people set them up, how they want to have it set up. So we found here that it didn't seem to be very advantageous to have calls being identified because it was a bit disruptive. Actually, when we first set it up, we never were able to get it to identify call signs. It was just identifying node numbers, which was not helpful, not very helpful. That was several revisions of software ago, and that may have changed, but I think we still elected to just let it be on the silent side and let people identify as they chose to speak. But different machines are definitely set up different ways. Okay, let's see. Other questions before we continue? Would somebody like to talk to us about the reflectors that are mentioned, both in the IRLP reflector system, and I believe Echolink considers them reflectors or links or something of that nature?
Are we talking about technically or in general, KC0SUN?
Well, in general, what do they do? What's the difference between just making a general purpose connection?
Okay, you mean, I think what you're asking, and I'm just going to say this first part, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is to discuss exactly the difference between making a radio to repeater to radio connection and making a connection over IP, which is what both of those services can do.
Well, no, probably not. Actually, what I was getting at was the term reflector, and I can't remember if that's actually used in the Echolink service or if that's more of an IRLP term. I know that in Echolink there are two types of nodes, repeaters or links. And I don't know if there is a technical difference. I think the intention is that a link node could have more people connected to it, but a repeater node is generally to one connection to a repeater. But I don't believe that is absolutely set in stone. But there are a couple of different conventions that happen. I know that when you get on Echolink and you dial up a node, you can get a repeater, you can get an individual, you can get almost like a conference line that's set up, and there's different things that you can connect into through those various Echolink nodes. And I guess that's what I was asking about. And then the term reflector maybe is just an IRLP term for a node you can connect into, or is that a different situation again? So let's start with just the Echolink question. about the different types of nodes that you can connect into, first of all, if anybody can give me an answer on that. Okay, I've bamboozled everybody. I'm sorry about that. It may be the way you implement the link on the end that you set it up, and not the end that somebody connects into it. So I don't have much info about that. But as you look through on your phone or computer, you'll see some varieties of things from the various Echolink nodes, and you know, some of them are folks that have connected with their phones and have their own IP or Echolink node numbers, which we all apparently do as we register for Echolink. Others are repeaters, and others are a kind of a group area where several people can connect, and maybe they can be or do not have to be connected to radio. So in absence of having a real good explanation of that at this point, just be aware that when you're looking through your list of things on Echolink, there are a variety of things that you can connect to, but not all of them are necessarily repeaters. So without any further info on that, can anybody tell me about the term reflector as it applies to IRLP?
AE7HF.
Jeff, go ahead.
I used to own a reflector back in Las Vegas, same time with Kent. W7AOR had his. I'll make sure I had it there. I got the developer of IRLP, he let us have a second reflector. I had it in my data cabinet. And basically it's just a Linux computer, and he jumped in, programmed it up for us, and all I could tell you is it used a bunch of bandwidth and could host like 100 stations at a time, or different nodes or repeaters connecting to it, and it just shared data, spread the packets off to the other ones, so just like one big party line. I got in a dispute with a couple other hams that had it with me, and told them to take it, and that was that, and I washed my hands of it. But it was just a computer. That's all we had, and that was going back 10 years ago. AE7HF.
SUN.
Thank you, Colin. SUN?
In modern vernacular jargon, he's right. It's just a computer. It's just a node that helps other nodes connect to other nodes. And you know, every node has a node number and a node range, and all these other, you know, like there's 10 channels for each node. These are all just part of the IRLP protocol. And if you think about it like a packet routing system, or like for your computer, like a router, it's really just a place for data to come, figure out where it needs to go, and then go there. And it really routes literally packet information, because it is over IP. So it's routing data packets, reading where they're coming from, looking where they're supposed to be going, and sending them there. And it does a whole bunch of that for a lot of places, and and it's connected to the internet. So a reflector doesn't necessarily even have to have a way to connect to it directly. It can just be a machine that is linked to IRLP and does some of the work of connecting stations together. KC0SUN.
Okay, very good. Once again, any questions, anybody? Any questions this has brought up for anybody?
DEG, real quick.
Go ahead, DEG.
All right, just wanted to let you know there, Net Control, K4LYL is getting ready to link up and add to the conversation. He said he might be able to help us in the conversation. K1DEG.
Okay, this is N7GES in the NCARC TechNet. Sounds like we're going to be joined by yet another person on via Echolink, and so maybe we can get a bit more info there. So whenever you're here, please feel free to go ahead and jump in and identify, please.
GES-SUN. I want to throw something out there real quick while we're waiting.
Okay, SUN.
Just for anybody who's listening who, may not have experience with what the real idea behind both Echolink and IRLP is, in its simplest terms, because we're talking about a lot of different things, but I don't think we've actually discussed the basic methodology. And the important thing to know is that both of these things, IRLP, Echolink, what they do, the meat and potatoes of what they do is encode information, whether that be audio or something else, from a radio source, whether that be a repeater or a node specific to it or whatever. They take that information, they encode it, and they ship it off over the internet. So both of these technologies there's other things that they can do, but in their most basic form, they are just ways of moving communications over the internet that have the communications that have started out as radio. So that's really the whole point. All of these things like reflectors and other and nodes and how to dial in, all of that is the how to use these things. But that's really all that's happening is it's taking your voice or your data, most of the time it's voice, turning that into information, into data, into network packets, sending it over the internet to where it's supposed to go based on how the protocol works, and then letting it out the other side, and in most cases sending it to more radios through other repeaters. So you'd have me talking to a repeater, that repeater sends the information over the internet to some other repeater, that other repeater sends that information out to all the radios, and it happens in reverse. That's the basics of it, and I really didn't think that we actually clarified the specifics of what was going on there. KC0SUN.
KG0HM.
Very good, thank you, Alec. Good evening, HM.
Yeah, well, I have a question. Since I've left technology to get past me for so long, IRLP, is that an app or what is it?
IRLP is a term for a particular kind of radio communications, and a way of hooking it up through the internet. It is not something you get. It is something you can operate if your repeater is set up for it. Echolink, on the other hand, works in a similar way, but they do have either PC or Mac programs or phone apps that will access Echolink. So you can get an app and then do your sign-up process and use Echolink through a computer or a phone. That answer your question?
SUN.
Oh, yeah, I use Echolink, but I was just curious. Well, it's your repeater, whatever your repeater is set up to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, if the machine is set up for Echolink, you use Echolink through it. If it's IRLP, you use that through it.
SUN.
QN, go.
There's a couple of distinctions IRLP requires there to be a radio at both ends because the radio whatever radio you're using is connecting to an IRLP node of some sort, probably a repeater. That node is then sending the information across the internet and reflecting it out. And on the other end of that, there has to be a radio. IRLP is the Internet Radio Linking Project. That's why it's actually radio to radio over the internet. Echolink, on the other hand, and IRLP is not an app. It's a protocol and a way to do things. Echolink has a lot of similarities, shares a ton of similarities, but you can use an app or a computer program or other things to both speak and listen through the internet and other people's radios. It does not require a radio at either end. Actually, you can speak Echolink to Echolink through a repeater, and the only radio waves happen to be the ones that are being sent out for the rest of the people listening to the repeater. But there doesn't need to be a radio at both ends the way there needs to be with IRLP. KC0SUN.
Okay, let me see. Did K4LYO come in yet?
Yeah, I'm here. This is K4LYO, Larry in Virginia.
Okay, Larry, thank you for coming by. DEG, I don't know if you were... did you have another comment there, or were you just checking to see if Larry was here?
I was just trying to let you know that he was listening, is all. K1DEG.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, Larry, thank you for dropping in. We been just trying to answer questions about Echolink, and one of the questions I had was there are different node types, it seems to me like. There's, of course, everyone has their own node number that they get when they register, if I understand correctly. Some nodes go directly to a repeater or a radio of some sort, and some seems to me like go to some sort of a link system or meeting area or something of that nature. Is that correct?
Well, I answer what I can answer. I'm not sure I can answer every question that comes up here. So I listened for a couple of minutes there, and you guys have a pretty good handle on the differences in the connections there, I think. But as far as the different node types and node numbers and things, I don't believe the individuals have pre-assigned permanent node numbers like you have a DMR number, for example. But stations that are set up as permanently tied to a specific repeater, like my station is, I'm not on it right now, by the way. I'm on my cell phone connected directly to W0 UPS. But stations that are applied to the Echolink system as a permanently associated with a repeater, they do get a fixed node number, and you can even get a vanity node number, which I've got, and for my repeater. So, in the different places you're talking about for meetings are probably conferences. And I don't have a conference here that I'm responsible for. Echolink itself will allow you to put in up to 99 connections in the setup screens. But conferences, I believe that software runs on some other operating system other than Windows or iOS. I can't remember much about it because I've not set up a conference. But there are quite a few conferences around the world. Let me see if, I don't know if this will time out. Let me unkey a second. And some of the conferences are closed. Some of them allow certain types of connections. Some don't. Some do. The most open one I know of is the Do Drop In conference server, which I have my repeater connected to on a schedule from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time every day. They have nets on these different conferences. There's one called ALARA, which is also an acronym in the business that I'm in. And they host a YLNet every Thursday night. So those conference servers allow many more connections. I don't know what the limit is or if there's a limit. But they also give you more control. There are system operators, multiple system operators, typically on a conference, that can kick people out or mute people that are causing interference and that kind of thing. So those may be similar to some of the other modes you're talking about, like IRLP, as far as that goes. One of the things that's a little unique, somebody mentioned you can talk Echolink to Echolink. You cannot connect directly to another Echolink person. You can't initiate it that way, let me say it that way. Like if I wanted to talk to a guy here in town who was on his cell phone on Echolink, I could not connect to him. But when you connect to a repeater or any other kind of node out there, a conference server, a repeater, a link, repeaters and links are pretty much similar. They're typically associated with a specific repeater, but they're remotely located from the repeater typically. But anyway, the servers on Echolink, there's 4 main servers, and they're basically used as lookups for how to connect with something. And once it does the lookup, then you do get directly connected to it, and the servers aren't involved anymore. So they have a pretty light workload on that. They're not in the line specifically like they might be on other modes. So we'll pass it back to you. I'm not sure who that was I was just now talking to. It might have been, was that Jay or somebody else there. This is K4LYL.
Yeah, Larry, the name here is Kevin, and the call is N7GES, November 7, Golf Echo Sierra. Yeah, well, thank you for the info. Yes, I'd forgotten the term conference, which was one of the things I had run into. And you did refer to either repeater or link, and I'm guessing there's some subtle differences there, but it sounds like they're fairly interchangeable. And yeah, the conference is what I was referring to when being something different. Okay. Thank you very much. Other questions anybody has about these things? We're also discussing IRLP as much as we're able, without a whole lot of people available right now. But still, any questions for the net? it sounds like maybe we've covered the main points, at least for the folks that are here anyhow. If you have additional questions, you can certainly email Elmers at NCARC.net. You can certainly look up on the individual sites for Echolink or IRLP, and you'll have more information there than you'll ever want, I'm sure, but hopefully enough to get you set up the way you need to be. I will say that you can buy modules that you can connect to a radio or a repeater. Sometimes people do connect them to a radio for actual simplex use, to connect into either the IRLP or the Echolink system. Some connections to repeaters are actually made with a separate radio that is simply transmitting from the Echolink node, as opposed to that node being set up directly through the repeater. It's a little more awkward that way, but it works just fine, and it is a way of quickly setting up a repeater with an Echolink node by just having a separate transceiver that's connected to the Echolink unit that you purchase and register with Echolink. So there are various ways it can be used, and that's why I often say radio to radio as opposed to repeater, because sometimes you might be talking to an individual radio on a either simplex frequency or into a repeater via a radio that you're talking into. So there's a variety of ways it can be used. You can call out on a radio into various Echolink servers as well, depending on how the node that you're working on is set up. And so there's a lot of good uses one can put them all to. So I'm going to pause once more for last questions, and then we'll open it up for any general questions before we close the net. Any other Echolink or IRLP questions before we go to general topics? Okay. And Larry, thank you for joining us this evening, and certainly feel free to join us anytime if you would like to do that. We're here every Monday. Any other general amateur radio technical type questions anybody would have for us? Okay, next week. Open forum. So if you didn't have questions tonight, please bring your questions next week and tell your friends we're talking open forum topics next week. So whatever you might have questions about are all fair game here. And then 2 weeks from tonight, on the first Monday in November, we're going to revisit the basics of HF propagation, including the DEF layers and what they do and how they affect everything, and just getting a basic refresher back to anybody that might need it. So that's coming up in 2 weeks. Next week is an open forum. I do appreciate everybody that's been a part this evening, and I thank you all for your participation. Once again, if you have questions about the net or questions you'd like to pose to the net, email us at elmers@ncarc.net. That is, I'm going to try this again, Echo, Lima, Mike, Echo, Romeo, Sierra, Elmers, @ncarc.net. That's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club.net. Thank you all very much for your participation, and we'll see you next week, 73s, and the repeater is now open for normal use. Have a wonderful evening. N7GES.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.